Good morning, my real estate people out there. I'm gonna pull up an email real quick here for today's call while everybody's hopping on. I'm actually here at my house today in Newport Beach, California. Where's everybody at today? Feeling lonely. All right. All right. So we're gonna give it a couple of minutes here while people are joining us. So let me hear from you guys. How's everything been going? Has anyone been knocking on doors, making phone calls? Has anyone started looking for their first deal yet? What's been going on out there? What's up? Good morning, Daniel. Wilmington, California. And then today we're going to be doing some Q&A, but also I'm going to go over some of the costs that are typically associated with a flip, so you have an idea of what the total costs are, because there's more than just purchase price and construction. You know, you have purchase price, construction, title, escrow, carrying costs, utilities, taxes, and there's a lot of different expenses involved. And then another thing we'll go over today is the 70% rule, which it's pretty tried and true. It gives you a really good estimate of what you should be paying for real estate. Okay. All right. Well, while we're waiting for some people to get on, I'm going to kick it off with two questions. So what are some questions I can help you guys with? Courtney made a few calls, still waiting on her first wholesale deal using PropStream, failed listing, divorces. That's it. And Courtney, there is no trick to it. It's massive volume. The more people you talk to, the higher the odds of getting a deal. So in your mind, if you're thinking you got to talk to 100 people, I want you to think you got to talk to 10,000 people. Think big. Think about reaching 10,000 houses. Homes sold at auction, sometimes they could be brand new, sometimes they could be falling over. It's a case by case. The houses at auction don't really have anything to do with the condition. It's just, typically people that were unable to make their payments. All right, well, let's get into the 70% rule really quick. And it's really simple math. This is why I like simple math, by the way. So, this is what the 70% rule is. You want to take 70% of the highest value you think a home is worth, and that's the ballpark range of where you should be paying. So let me give you an example. The 70% rule, if you were to say, okay, this house at 123 Main Street is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,100 square foot house. Once this house is fixed up, the most it's going to sell for is 500,000. So now we know what is the most. It's 500,000. So what is that? What is the 70% rule? That means on typically 70% of 500,000 is where our offer should be. So if we were doing really quick math and saying, hey, do we want to write an offer on this? Well, what's the highest we can sell this house for? 500,000. What's 70% of 500,000? That's 350,000. So that's where your offer would want to be. So that's the 70% rule. So in this case, 350,000 would be the offer. Now, this is just ballparking. If the house needs $200,000 in work, the 70% rule doesn't work. If the house only needs 20,000 in work, the 70% rule, it's not really going to work. So just, it's kind of like a ballpark to go off of. But in this case, if we were to pay, 350,000, if the house needed 70,000 in work, that puts us at 420. We have 30,000 in selling costs, puts us at 450. We sell it for 500. We have a gross profit of $50,000. Okay. Do you guys want to do some questions, or do you want me to go over some more costs associated with flipping a house? Challenges facing SoCal flippers. There are challenges. It's a little bit more difficult to find houses right now. Construction's taking longer, and they're selling for a little bit less. And that's why, right now, if you're a little fearful and you don't have a bunch of reserves, it might be a good idea to start off by wholesaling and just building up the capital. Things are going to look a lot different in the next, 12 to 18 months. All right, let's go over some of the costs when you're flipping a house. I got some notes on my phone here. Okay, so we're going to start with acquisition costs. Acquisition costs are the cost to acquire the property. Okay, acquisition cost is how much money it's going to take to buy a house. So within your acquisition costs, you're going to have the cost to acquire the property, which is buying the house. You're going to have title fees, which is expenses to do the transaction, or if you're in a lawyer state, you might have lawyer fees. And then you're going to have escrow fees, and you're going to have loan points and loan fees. So an example of that would be, I'm buying a house for $500,000. The lender's requiring me to put 10% down, so I put down $50,000. In order to get the loan, the lender is going to charge me a point, which is 1% of the loan amount. So that would be $4,500. And then title and escrow is going to be a couple $1,000s. And then my monthly payment is roughly, call it, 8%. So you got to calculate, 8% on 450,000, call it, I don't know, $4,000 a month. So these are some of the acquisition costs that you're going to be dealing with. But actually, no, the loan costs are your carrying costs. So I'm just going to simplify again. So acquisition costs, cost to get the property, including your escrow, your title, your loan, and your fees. Okay, so now we own the house. So these are some of the costs that you're going to incur once you're actually flipping it. So you're going to have your holding costs, and your holding cost is going to be your monthly mortgage payment, your monthly taxes, your utilities for the house, the power, the gas, and the insurance. So those are your holding costs. And then, of course, you're going to have your rehab costs. Rehab costs are going to vary. It all depends on how much construction the house needs. And then if you're going to be, so rehab costs is just all your construction. And then the final line item is disposition. So disposition is where we get rid of the house, where we sell the house. So you're going to have escrow fees again to sell it. You're going to have title fees again to sell it, or some states legal fees. You're going to have staging if you're staging the house, and then of course real estate commissions. So to break it down, acquisition costs, your cost to acquire the property, stuff like escrow, title, loan points, and fees. Holding costs, the cost that you incur once you own the house, property taxes, utilities, insurance, mortgage payment. And then, of course, your rehab, which is your construction, and then your disposition costs, which is the cost to get rid of the house. And that's going to be escrow, title, legal fees, loan fees, staging, and real estate commissions. So we went over the 70% rule and also the different costs associated with a house flip. Let me look at my notes really quick here so I get back to some questions. All right, Courtney, you got to keep those calls up. This is not rocket science. It's literally you guys getting a list of people that are likely to sell and knocking them, calling them, texting them, mailing them, doing whatever it takes to find out if they want to sell or not. You just need to ask the question. All right. This is from Zena. Hi, Tarek. I live in San Francisco. The market now is tough due to many people moving out of the Bay Area and houses sitting on the market for a long time. And at some point, they will be taken off the market. What is your advice for such a market? So I would say San Francisco is a pretty risky market to flip houses in right now. So and this is just personal. Like if it were me and I was in San Francisco, if it was a home run deal, this is a home run deal, I would go ahead and flip it, market conditions or not. If it's a deal where you're not too sure, I would most likely consider doing a wholesale with that deal and just making some capital. That way you can move on to a different deal in an area that might be a little bit stronger. But if it was me, I'd flip it if it was a home run, or I'd wholesale it if I wasn't as confident. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading everybody. Hey, by the way, everybody, I've been having fun the last couple of weeks with everyone. How many flips am I currently working on? I believe we are down to 49 houses on the books. Buying new flips, we've really slowed down. Unless it's a home run, We're not buying, we're just wholesaling. Do you suggest using your own money? I suggest using whatever capital you can to make it happen, whether it's your money, whether it's someone else's money. It's just coming up with that money to make the deals happen. And if you're using your own money and you're doing what you're supposed to do, I don't think you should be too concerned. Just make sure you're buying at the right price. How much it's going to cost for you to fix up the house, and you have to know what it's going to sell for, or at least as close as possible. What's a good estimate of repairs? Lipstick, full gut, cosmetic per foot. Man, I do everything licensed, bonded, insured contractors, so I pay a pretty penny on construction. But I would say on let's just say 1,000 square foot house, a full gut, you're looking at about $1.10, $1.20 a foot. If you're looking at a pretty nice remodel where it's looking pretty darn nice, you're probably 70 to 80 a foot. And if you're looking at cleaning it up and just, getting it a little bit nicer than rent ready, you're probably at like 40, $50 a foot. Wholesale. Could you work in a different market than you live in? I'm in Chicago, but need to be an agent to wholesale. So I could do that work in California instead. Yeah, you can wholesale anywhere in the country. My company, Target Buys Houses, we do deals in different states, and a lot of my friends are doing deals in different states. And no, we do not see the houses. That's why we send inspectors, real estate agents, and contractors. The 70% rule is not minus construction costs. The 70% rule includes construction costs. So, they call it the 70% rule. I like the 60% rule, if you get my gist. Contractor upfront, that varies. Typically I think like, 10% is a good starting point. 10, maybe 20, depends on how well you know the contractor. But the worst thing, I'm going to say this again, the worst thing you can do is pay a contractor for work that's not done and pay a contractor ahead of schedule. If you start doing those things, you're going to get in trouble. How do I know? I've been in trouble. Hey guys, and then I don't know if you guys heard the exciting news, but there's a lot of exciting things that's happening at Homeschooled. We're going to be bringing in some really incredible trainers like Pace Morby, Jamil, some mailing experts, and so excited about everything that's coming. So if you guys haven't booked your free strategy session, you guys got to check it out. I think the link's in the feed right there. What is the normal time frame for a hard money lender give you to pay them the money back? Typically, it's a 12-month period. Daniel Mendez, you mentioned that you are wholesaling a lot of your houses right now. When it comes to locking up properties, are you taking into considerations that your buyers will pay the same costs as you? Or are you just doing 70% minus? I don't understand the question. My apologies. Yeah, I mean, all buyers are going to have the same cost like title, escrow, loan fees, stuff like that. When you buy and hold, what is your cash on cash return you're looking for? Is 10% pretty standard? I mean, I think 10% is a good goal, but it depends on the market. I'll give you an example. In 2013, 14, I was buying rentals in California that were not the best for cash flow, but I wasn't buying them for cash flow. I was buying them for equity, and that's where I made a lot of money. Now, when I buy houses in Oklahoma, I'm not necessarily buying for equity. I'm more buying for cash flow. And that's where I would really implement like the 10% rule. I had rental properties in the past. Do you rent out any flips due to not selling? Yes, I do, depending where we're at in the cycle. Right now, I'm trying to get rid of them because I do feel like the prices will be lower. But worst case scenario is always an option to rent. This is from Kelsey. How do you recommend finding private money? The first place you're going to look is right here in your phone. You're going to contact every single person you know, ask them if they're interested in investing in real estate deals with you, and you're going to let them know that you're being trained by Tariq El Musa from HGTV. So that's what you're going to do there. There's a good chance nobody's going to want to do business with you. That's what happened to me. You just got to keep going. So if you get to that point, you got to meet new people. So join different Facebook groups, join investor groups, go to local meetups, start networking with people, meet new people. The problem is in life is we stop meeting new people. We stop learning, right? When you meet new people, everybody knows something different than we do. And how do you become smarter? Well, you meet a lot of very valuable people. And when I say meet new people, I mean meet new valuable people, like-minded people that are on the same mission, that really want to be investors. Like those are the type of people. Okay. Sorry guys, my screen's moving fast on me. Um, I'll go. Okay. We call it the 70% rule, Chris Mass, but we call it the 60% rule. Pretty much, whatever the highest price you think you'll be able to sell a house for after it's fixed up, your offer should be like 60 to 70% of that. So if there was a house and the most that it would sell for is 500,000 once it's fixed up, beautiful and staged, 60% of 500,000 is 300,000. So my offer would most likely be about 300,000. Oh, did we run out of questions? All right, this is from Kelsey. I'm struggling because I haven't done it before, so they think it's too much risk. I'm starting, Kelsey, just so you know, every single real estate investor on the planet had very similar start as you. When I started, they said I was too young, it's too speculative, I don't know what I'm doing, it's too risky, you're going to lose. I took that as motivation to go find someone else that wanted to give me money. Daniel Mendez, my prediction on the market, I do think we will be correcting in 2023 and possibly 2024. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. I like that one. It sounds like a flip or flop episode. Sorry, guys, the messages move fast. When your spouse has a different risk tolerance than you, how do you get on the same page? Honestly, show them the facts. Show them what's going to happen in your lives 20, 30 years from now if you don't start doing this now. Read books, highlight the important parts of the books, show your spouse. This is what the experts say. This is what the gurus say. So this isn't you saying you need to do this. This is the world telling both of you, you need to do this for your future. Daniel, they're asking about skip tracing. I believe Deal Finder is available. If you see that comment. Kelsey Thomas, do you think it's a good time now then, or do you think it's better to wait? No, this is the best time. Listen, if you're waiting for this to happen, by the time it happens and you're trying to learn, you're going to miss the next cycle. Right now is training day. This is where we practice. This is where we learn. This is where we try. Okay? Because what's coming down the road, you're going to need a lot of skills, and this is where we build those skills. Catherine, I spoke to my lender about purchasing my first investment property, and he told me that this is not the time to invest. Okay, so do me a favor, ask your lender, Mr. Lender, how many rental properties do you own? One. They're probably going to say none. Mr. Lender, how many houses have you flipped in the last 12 months? They're probably going to say none. Mr. Lender, what is the best way to get off-market deals? They're probably going to say they don't know because they don't. So stop taking advice from people that don't know what they're talking about. The lender, yes, it's not a good time to buy an investment property if you're buying off the MLS at a retail price. I am not shopping for retail deals. We are looking for undervalued real estate or sellers that are really motivated to take a lower offer. So the houses we're talking about buying, we're not talking about retail. We're talking 60, 70 cents on the dollar. Book recommendations for real estate investing. You know, as more as like a book to like make you realize anything's possible. My favorite real estate investing books are the Section 8 Bible Volume 1 and the Section 8 Bible Volume 2. Like I love those books. They open my eyes up to a whole new world that shows you anything's possible. From Nelson Javier, help us understand what a buyer's like when we market to them. Since you're a buyer, what are some of the good tips we should do in order to stand out from all the other calling buyers? Oh, here's the truth. There's not much you can do. The way to stand out is to put in more work and talk to more people, which increases your odds of getting a deal. That's it. You got it. Like I'm telling you guys, I'm not just a T. Like I literally did this for 10 years. When I was cold calling and prospecting, in one day, I would put out 10 times more work than anyone else in my office because I was tenacious. I just went for it. And I learned the harder you go, the more often you're going to get deals. When your husband says, get a real job, well, your answer is, I'm doing this so in 10 years from now, neither of us have to have a job. What is the difference between wholesaling and being a real estate broker? When you're wholesaling, you're a principal in the transaction. You're part of the deal. When you're a real estate broker, you're not a principal. You are representing a house, and your job is to sell it. So two different things. Jonathan, hey Tarek El would you recommend taking a HELOC on a primary residence to raise more capital or continue to do promissory notes with friends and family, even if there is risk on not being able to pay them back? That's a personal thing. If you're worried about not paying back friends and family, maybe focus more on wholesaling. If you feel confident in your knowledge, if you feel confident in the business, if you feel like you know what you're doing, I mean, me personally, I take HELOCs all the time, and that's how I buy more real estate. It just takes knowledge and experience. So if you have those things, I don't see why not. What's considered a high fee to work with an agent on flips or listing? For me, the most I would be willing to pay typically, unless it's like $100,000 house, is 2% on the listing side. On the buyer side, I suggest you give 2.5% commission at a minimum. If you're going to list the house and all your competitors are offering 3%, you better give 3%. So look at what your competition's offering and match it or do better. And when it comes to your listing agent, offer 2%. The best way to get off market deals. I mean, there are so many ways, Kelsey. I really think you should probably book your strategy session. But getting off market deals, it's finding targeted lists of homeowners who are most likely to sell. So that could be multiple property owners, out of state owners, people that have owned the house for 30 years with high equity in a certain age range. Like there's so many different data points that will get you to where you want to go. So to get the off-market deals, you get the data of who's most likely to sell. And then once you get that data, you skip trace it, means a company's going to say, here's all the phone numbers. Once you have all the names, addresses, and phone numbers, you're going to call them, you're going to text them. If they're local, you're going to knock on their door, and you're going to mail them a handwritten letter. Laura, how do I make the hard money or private money loan payments when I'm just starting out and I don't have money yet? Well, you're not. You're probably not going to start off flipping houses because we need to build that capital. So step one is going to be making money. So you should start off by wholesaling. Once you do some wholesale deals, you'll have some money, and then you can start flipping. And then once you start flipping deals, you'll have even more money. And then you start passive investing by buying rentals. I always buy my LLC. Okay, okay. Thoughts on the courthouse auctions? I haven't been to the courthouse auction since probably 2013. When I was going there, all the funds were coming in, and I couldn't compete. They had zillions of dollars in cashier's check, and I would just lose on like house after house after house. But that being said, are there deals there if you show up consistently? Yes, there are. Caleb liked my joke, huh? 10 years later. It's true, though. I don't want a job. Title of book, Section 8 Bible, Volume 1, and Section 8 Bible, Volume 2. Courtney Duet. My bank wouldn't allow me to take a HELOC on my current home to use for a different property. I would call a different lender, and to the best of my knowledge, I'm not a lender. Once you pull a HELOC, you can go buy 4,000 Happy Meals if you want. You can do anything you want with that money. So I would consider calling a different lender. Patricia, how would I pay the hard money loan if I don't have my own money to invest? You're not going to. That's why you're going to start by wholesaling. And wholesaling doesn't take money. You don't have to buy the house. You don't have to fix the house. You have to agree to get a seller to assign a contract at a price and convince an investor to buy it at that price. Michael, let me think about that statement really quick. So 70% rule. So that'd be 350. Yeah, no, that's wrong, Michael. The offer in this case would be like 250,000 on a 500,000 ARV. Yeah, that's I don't believe that's right. I would say 60 to 70% of ARV, that should wrap everything up. Amanda Welsh. I have capital. I've been saving and have enough to buy as an investment with the 20% down. Something small. I have two other rental properties. I have I have some car debt to pay down, but don't want to keep my funds to purchase but want to keep my funds to purchase an investment. What do you recommend? Um, there's a lot more details to that. I don't know how much the debt is. I don't know how high the interest rates are. But right now, I think capital on hand is important. So I think it might be a good idea to keep capital on hand so you can take advantage if an opportunity arises. I'm looking at an investment property that has major foundation issues. Would you still purchase it? Yes, I would if it was a screaming deal, like screaming deal. So if this thing is a home run, like an amazing deal, then yes, feel comfortable. If you feel like it's thin at all, I would walk away from it. And here's the thing: if you're dealing with foundation, it's probably going to cost more than you think, and it's probably going to take longer than you think. So make sure you add in those extra costs. Jake is asking about financing. Here's the thing. Today, guys, the interest rates are like around 7%. A year from now, is there a chance they go back to 5%, 5.5%? Yeah, there is. Is there a chance it goes up to 8.5%? I mean, yeah, there is. Here's the thing. Over the next 10 years, do I think at some point will rates be lower than today? Yes, I do. So for me, I would go more of a shorter term financing like Jake is talking about here. And then when the rates drop in the future, refinance it then. Catherine, so how do you sub subdue the fear of losing money? I'm all in and ready to risk it, but I would have to finance everything, which I know you don't suggest, but with no money set aside, that's my only option. You know what? Get your feet wet. Start off with a wholesale deal. There's nothing wrong with getting your feet wet, starting off with a wholesale deal. And Catherine, if you are serious about doing this, you should probably book your strategy session to make sure you're on the right track. How much money should you have ready before flipping? You know, well, like I said, get started right away. What you're going to do to wholesale a house is the same upfront steps you're going to take to flip a house. And that's the hardest part. So once you become an expert at the first quarter of the transaction, the rest is easy. It's the finding the deal that's the difficult part. Um, so how much money should you have? Depends on the market, depends where you're at. I would say about 50,000 maybe might be enough to get on a smaller house, down payment, maybe 60,000, somewhere in there. But listen, if you don't have money, you can raise private money. And if you can't raise private money, you can wholesale. You have options. First three steps in wholesaling to get going. One, you want to build a targeted lead list focusing on motivated sellers. Two, you're going to skip trace the lead list and get all the phone numbers for the homeowners that are on that list. Step three, you're going to call every single one multiple times until you reach them. You're going to text them multiple times until you reach them if you can. You're going to knock on their door if you can, and you're going to mail them something in the mail if you can. Those are the first three steps. I don't have enough professional, what is it called? Degrees to answer the LLC and land trust question. I'll let my CPAs and lawyers handle that stuff. 4,000 Happy Meals. I mean, that's a lot of Happy Meals. That's a lot of toys too. Am I hiring wholesalers? I'm not sure what that means, Patricia. Okay, guys. Oh, it's late. I'm gonna be late. All right, so I'm gonna do one last question, and then I'm gonna have to go. So this is from Dale Rhodes. Tarek, institutions here in Arkansas work with investors that are in-house all their funds. I don't even try hard money because the fees and interest rates are enormous compared to in-house bake funding with interest-only quarterly payments. OZK Bank has good rates and one-year term for investors. There are other banks that are in-house suited to investors because, do you have any recommendations on private money for long term? Here in Arkansas, there are private money bankers that try to control all the private money. Honestly, like that's a pretty detailed question. I'm short on time. I would definitely take the time and do some research on the internet. And honestly, it's a gold mine. Use Google. You can literally find anything you're looking for. So, guys, I had a great time today. I loved answering everyone's questions. I hope you're excited. I hope you're motivated. And so many exciting things to come. And don't forget, book your strategy session and also if you guys want to come hang out with me on November 5th, we got a couple spots left for the live event. Come down, let's hang out, let's talk real estate, let's get you on the right path to real estate success, and I'll see you guys next week.